Hello, how you doing, Pars fans? It's Stephen Mill here, and I'm joined in the Northwest by the chairman, Ross McArthur. We are on the eve of yet another season. There's always hope, there's always optimism, there's always excitement ahead of a new season, but it feels like this season there's a little bit extra with what's happening not only on the pitch but off the pitch as well.
Yeah, no, it's exciting times to be a Dunfermline fan. There's always hope at the start of the season, isn't there? It is exciting times, particularly when we've got off to such a good start in the League Cup section. No, but there's so much been happening around the club, Stephen, be it in terms of staff changes, players coming in, made some really exciting signings, but obviously the big news over the last couple of weeks has been the completion of the investment into the club, which, you know, I keep saying will be a real transformation for the club. So no, really good times ahead.
Before we dive into all of that, it was 8-9 years ago that the club were 15 minutes from going bust, and you were sat in this stand just a fan like everyone else. Talk us a little about that journey and where we've come from and to where we are now.
Yeah, well, what I'll say first and foremost is I'm still a fan. I'm still a massive supporter of this football club, but it's bizarre. I'm sitting in my seat in the North Stand that I used to sit, and it's quite emotional because I've never been back here for probably about 8 years. So no, it has been a journey, but I do what I do, the board do what they do, because we're all fans of the club, and it was a horrible period. Everybody knows where we were. The club was in disarray. There's no other way of saying it. I sometimes can't understand how they even managed to get football matches on when you actually lift up the bonnet and see what was inside. So we've had to professionalise the club, do it in manageable stages, and as you say, we were very close to going out of business completely. So to fast forward 8 years to now think that we've got a bit of financial stability, we're looking at all the changes that we're contemplating with the training ground and getting our own academy back, and being a professional football club, the changes that we've made in the backroom staff and different things. No, it's been quite a journey, but as you know, as a Pars fan, it's always a journey, isn't it?
Absolutely.
If you could predict it, it'd be a lot easier, but unfortunately you can. But that's part of the enjoyment, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just been such a roller coaster time over the last 8 or 9 years, from the lowest of the low, right at the start. But there's been peaks and troughs, obviously, as you mentioned. Has there been a particular time over that period where you wouldn't think that you'd be sat here talking about new investment, talking about a new training ground?
Yeah. No, I think sometimes I'm the type of person that just gets my head down. I work off adrenaline, and sometimes people say to me, you need to maybe take a step back and enjoy the moment and just understand what's happening. But something happens, right? I'm on to the next thing, I'm on to this, and that's just the way I work. I've always worked like that. But no, I suppose so. Yeah, I mean, there's it was a few seasons ago, we would never have thought that we would be able to do these types of things. It was beyond our reach, and everybody's contributed. It's not just the board. So many people in and around the club help in terms of their time and effort, and the supporters get behind the club. Whenever they're asked, they do that. So it's been a huge team effort to get us to this, and we wouldn't have got investment into the club if the investors didn't understand what the club's about and saw all these dynamics working together and thinking that they can add something different to that. But we don't want to change that. That's what makes this club special, and we need to retain that.
The new owners, will be speaking to them in the next week or so keep a lookout for that. So I don't want to. They can tell us more about their plans. But from your point of view and the fans' point of view, we're all reading the statements, we're seeing the interviews, and they're saying all the right things. But all new owners say the right things at the start, even the worst owners. So what can you say about these guys that make them the right people to take Dunfermline forward?
Well, I think myself and the rest of the board, as I said earlier, we're all Dunfermline fans. At some point in the future, when I hopefully come back into sitting in the Northwest Stand, although I see somebody's reserved my seat, so I don't know if I'll be able to get it back after all. so I'm interested to find out who's sitting in my seat these days. But no, when I hang up, the boots in terms of being a director, and I'm sure all my colleagues on the board will be the same. They want the club to be in the best footing and being able to grow and be sustainable going forward. And if I'm walking up Dunfermline High Street or walking through the Glen or something, I don't want somebody coming up to me and saying, wait a minute, what have you done to our football club? We're all custodians. That's what the guys talk about as well. They'll be custodians, going forward. These people, I keep saying, are the real deal. They're very, very high calibre individuals, and we wouldn't have done this if we didn't think this was the right thing for the club. Because at the end of the day, we want the club to be successful, but we want the club to be here for another 150 years. That's so important. So it's trust is massive, and I know football fans are wary. Fife football fans are probably even more wary, but we're all Fifers at the end of the day. But so I understand that. But the proof will be in the pudding, won't it? That's ultimately how they're going to be judged. And I know some of the things that they're looking to do, the level of investment they're bringing into the club to do the right things to grow the club in the longer term. This is not just about throwing money at football players to try and get us out of this division. That's not what this is about at all. It's about getting the fabric of the club right to be future-proof.
And the stadium as well it's always something nice just before the season kicks off. I know we've had obviously a couple of League Cup games and stuff, but the stadium's looking great, the pitch is looking great, and it's even better that we can guarantee that there'll be fans in the stadium this season. Yeah,
and 2 or 3 things I would say there, Stephen. I mean, obviously the pitch is magnificent, and all credit to Willie and Kevin. I mean, it is one of the probably the better pitches in Scotland, and Peter, enthuses about it. And there's a couple of loan players that we've got. Specifically, one of the reasons that obviously working with Peter, but coming to a surface like this to play football on. So, all credit to the guys. And yeah, it'll be so good to have fans back. Even just getting a taste of 1,000 and nearly 2,000, but to have the full group of Pars fans back in the stadium will be fantastic. And I really hope next week we get the green light to allow that, because that's what football's about. Football's about having fans in the stadium. I mean, it was so sterile last season, sitting there in an empty stadium. It's like watching training games. There was no intensity, so no, that'll be fantastic, and it'll be great to see everybody back with their family and reconnecting. The stadium is looking fantastic. I mean, one of the things, again, probably supporters aren't aware of, that we replaced the floodlights last season, and there was 1 or 2 issues with some other bulbs, so it was re-examined, and sadly the whole system's been condemned. It wasn't done properly when it was first put in. These are all the things that you don't find out. So we're now having to spend a significant 6-figure sum to basically rewire and rebulb all the 4 pylons, and that comes at, as I say, at huge cost. And that's equivalent to the money that we would bring in on an annual basis from the Centenary Club. That's how significant that outlay is, and that's again another compelling reason for getting investment into the club. But again, that emphasises how important Centenary Club income is going to be going forward, and encouraging people to keep paying their subscriptions, because that can help for these types of unforeseen circumstances. So that's the one downside, sadly. We're hoping that it's not going to get in the way of kick-off times. We anticipate the work will be finished by September, but again, it's just another headache that you could have done without. But that's the nature of a facility like this. They'll always get these types of things.
You mentioned the Centenary Club there and how important it's been. I think I read a figure 1.5 million over the last decade or so, which is obviously phenomenal. That can always be more though, and in terms of season tickets, how are we looking on that front?
I think we're up to, Mark was telling me earlier, I think it was 1950. We probably have a wee run over the next couple of days. I think with payday and such like, and maybe there are people maybe holding back at the moment, just thinking, well, are cows going to get back in, or are they not? It certainly looks like we'll get positive news next week. So again, I would encourage everybody who hasn't bought a season ticket, if they can, because we are running a wee bit behind budget in terms of season ticket income at the moment. And I know they're probably thinking, oh, he's encouraged me to buy a season ticket, keep paying my centenary club, but that is what's built the fabric of the club, and we need still everybody to do their bit if they can. And I know it's tight at the moment, it's a challenge, time for a lot of people at the moment, but if people haven't bought their season ticket, if they could bring, try and do so over the next week, that would help the club enormously.
And of course, just to touch on the pitch stuff, managerial changes, coaching changes over the summer, medical staff changes over the summer as well, which I know you want to talk about. But on the pitch itself, throughout the last 16 of the League Cup for a 5th year in a row, which is quite remarkable. And we've got a nice easy draw away at Ibrox against Rangers. But the early signs from Peter and the signings that you mentioned, it's looking good at the moment. Yeah, no,
it is, and it's great to have positivity in and around the club. Again, I keep saying, I suppose every club's the same, but I do think particularly here, if everybody gets together, we can be an unstoppable force when everybody joins together. And obviously it comes from the players on the park. Peter's got a great way of playing football. He's a fantastic coach, very enthusiastic. All the reasons why we appointed him in the first place. I mean, you can see what he was trying to do at Alloa last season and the season before. So no, really happy with how Peter and Stephen and Greg and the rest of the backroom staff have fitted together. Some great signings. We've had to maybe wait a wee bit longer than we would have ideally have wanted, but it's important to get the right players in. So that's gelling together, and the reward for getting through the League Cup group is getting a tie against Rangers, which is probably the most difficult tie out of all. But that is great for the players to go and challenge yourself at an environment like that, and it could well be a big crowd if things go our way next week with the First Minister. So the players could be playing in front of a massive crowd, which would be great for their development. So no, it's really exciting, and I'm really looking forward to this season. I've enjoyed the last few games. You see every week things are getting better. I know some things Peter's looking to do, and it's going to take him time, but the players have really bought into it, and it's really exciting football. So no, it's great to watch.
I know we're going to speak to investors next week, but obviously the talk at the training ground has obviously been fantastic, and the other developments behind the scenes that the fans might not know about as well.
We've at the moment we're working on a couple of options in terms of the training ground, because we can't put all our eggs in one basket. So they're both actually coming towards a conclusion. So we'll need to make a decision. So that's positive. And again, it will just allow us to develop players far better as well, because at the moment we've got a time slot. If we're at Alloa or if we're at Kelty or wherever we used to train, we had a dedicated time slot, so you had to work towards that. Whereas if you could bring the players back in and get them something to eat, and then you could go and do a gym session on site or extra sessions in the afternoon, it just gives you much more flexibility. The academy, at the moment we're part of Fife Elite, so from 2022, because they work on a calendar year, we hope to have our own academy back and starting to create that infrastructure, because as fans there's nothing better to see a young local lad coming through, making his debut for the team and coming on, going on to be a first team regular. So that will be great. But we've invested in a lot of changes in the backroom staff as well. On the medical side, people probably don't appreciate what's been happening there. We've got a new physio in place, and we've got a new strength and conditioning coach, sports scientist, who can really push on and make the best use of the facility we have over in that corner in terms of the gym. So all these things are probably hidden from people, but these are all positive changes that we're making to really push us forward, because it's not all about coaching, it's about keeping players fit, rehabbing them and making them stronger to actually go out and perform, because football's a performance sport.
I guess we're at the behest of government restrictions and stuff like that as well, but it would obviously be great to see the new owners here. I'm guessing as soon as possible they will be over here taking in matches and speaking to fans as well.
Yeah, no, it's been a huge disappointment for them that they couldn't be able to get over. In fact, I just actually had an email just before I sat down, Stephen, from Nick, one of the investors, to say that he believes that they could be over within a week, which is great. It's just with the travel restrictions, changing now. So no, that's great. They want to come over. They've got plans. They want to be hands-on, and that they don't want to be distant owners. It's been a huge source of frustration for them. So hopefully we'll get them over in the next week or so.
And finally, Ross, I know that you're staying on as chairman. Is there any end date for that? I'm asking on behalf of your wife.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, she'll love that question, because she'll be saying it's not just me that's saying it. No, we've left it pretty open-ended. I would never outstay my welcome. I just want the club to progress and move forward. I'm happy to stay on as chairman. If the guys want me to stay on, the rest of the board will be staying on. I mean, I often say, there's a couple of people on the board who knew each other, but a lot of us never met each other until we all came together. But we've created a real bond. We all respect each other. Everybody brings something to the table, and then investors can see that. So they don't want to disrupt that. They want to complement that, and that's what we're hopefully going to be able to do.
Well, thanks very much, Ross. Thanks for your time. Obviously, fingers crossed for the new season. Hope it all goes well. And hopefully we'll hear from the new owners of Dunfermline Athletic very soon in the coming weeks.